Alright, welcome everybody to the stream. We're just going to give it a couple of seconds here, as it looks like we are live now. We got the green light, everything's looking good. Session is currently underway. Just going to give it another 10 or 15 seconds or so while some people start to connect in, and we'll get started right away. Alright guys, good afternoon or good morning to you, wherever you are watching around the world. My name is Chris Cato, host and creator of the Backmarkers F1 Show. Welcome to the BMF1 Show Bahrain FP2 live stream watch-along. It is currently 5 p.m. Central Eastern European time. Just about free practice got underway in Bahrain. The light went green about 1 minute ago, and the session is ready to go. Under the lights in Bahrain, the first practice session earlier this morning, really not representative. We had about 6 rookie drivers filling in for the regular drivers. Of course, the mandatory young driver sessions that the teams must comply with this year. It's actually gotten bigger in 2025, so they figured that the best area, or the best place to do it, will be at the Bahrain International Circuit, where FP1 is not a representative time, but it's all about free practice 2 here in Bahrain. Under the lights, these are representative conditions, what we're going to see also in qualifying, and then of course in the race, because it is around the same time. So if you're new to these types of streams, welcome. Appreciate you watching along today. We've got the live chat, of course, on your screen as well. So if you're watching from around the world, let me know. Say hello in the chat where you're watching from. And of course, if you have any questions, if you have any comments or anything like that, just drop it into the chat, and I will do my best to keep up and also to answer the questions as well. Breakdown pretty much of the stream. Pretty simple, as you see on the screen. The left-hand side, we've got your live timing. So that'll be up to the minute, as we have with trackside, with the fastest lap times of the session so far. And then of course you can also see on the right hand side of your screen, we do have the driver tracking. So that's going to show you in real time. This is exactly what's happening right now on the track in Bahrain. All the drivers getting out on track, as you can see, pretty quickly at the moment. I think so far only, we just saw Norris and Hajar just came out onto the track. I think Russell the only one currently in the pits, so of course a very busy start to this FP2 session. But then I'm also going to be showing some live telemetry of the drivers as well. And if you want a request to see some live telemetry of your favorite driver, just drop it in the chat as well. And I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for that, so that I can give you guys that information as well. So early laps so far here, we got Charles Leclerc on the medium tire, currently setting the fastest middle sector. And he actually just backed off, I think, in his lap. Oh, no, he didn't. He crossed the line, set the fastest lap so far. So Charles Leclerc getting the first flying lap up on the board. Max Verstappen also out on track. He wasn't in the car earlier this morning because his car was taken over by Iwasa for FP1. So he will be back. It will be the first time in the car for him today. But as I said before, FP1 not really a representative session, so it's not as if he's missed much. And of course, all the other drivers have also missed the first practice session. Nothing too much to report from FP1 of note, other than the fact that conditions are much hotter than they were during testing. So this morning's FP1 was very hot, and the drivers were struggling for quite a lot of grip, and also just in general trying to get the car rotated into some of these slower speed corners, as we see Verstappen going wide down there at, let's see what turn. That is turn 10. That is the tricky braking zone. The left-hander going downhill. So tricky braking zone that is, and we're probably going to see a lot of mistakes and lockups as well. We're also on social media, guys. Backmarkers F1 Show. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can see at the bottom of your screen there all of our handles scrolling across the screen, and it's also in the description of this video as well. So Feel free to give us a follow and a shout on social media. We'd appreciate it.
The ride is very bad, the car is jumping a lot.
So there you heard the team radio from Max Verstappen saying that the car is jumping a lot, ride quality not good. And these first few laps will of course be exploratory laps for Verstappen and a lot of these drivers who haven't been in the car this morning. So we know how much the RB21 has been struggling to find the right balance. The setup window is very small on that car and is very difficult to get right. And as we saw last weekend in Suzuka, Red Bull struggled quite a lot in the Friday free practice sessions until they did a complete 180 and turned things around for qualifying and for the race. So let's see how it goes for the rest of this session. We're almost 10 minutes gone into this session here live FP2 on the Backmarkers F1 show. Again, if you're watching, thank you for joining this stream. Thank you for watching FP2 along with me. I definitely want to hear your thoughts and comments in the chat room below. So don't be afraid to leave any comments, leave any questions. I'll be keeping an eye out on the chat as well. And if you feel obliged to, then leave us a super chat, leave us a donation. We've got those links in the description as well. We'd appreciate all the support that we can get. So far, Lewis Hamilton topping the timing sheets with a 1:32.1 set on the medium tire. Kimi Antonelli about a 10th.5 behind on the soft with a 32.2. Oscar Piastri in the McLaren P3 at the moment, 5/10 behind, but he set that on the hard tire. So still very early days for these laps. George Russell currently out on track as well. He's on a push lap on the softer tire. Oh, we got some team radio feedback again. Let me just turn that off so it's not repetitive. If you guys are just joining us, that was Verstappen complaining about the ride quality in the RB21. He locked up and ended up going wide down at the tricky turn 10. So I'm just going to try and see if I can bring up some telemetry here for you guys. And in the meantime, just enjoy some of the engine sounds.
Change the steering wheel. There's a problem with the steering wheel, it's switching off.
We see the same.
Okay, so that was really interesting. Alonso literally just had the steering wheel almost essentially come off as he was driving down there. And of course, he's going to be coming into the pits to get a new steering wheel. I don't think I've ever seen that before, actually, having a driver have his steering wheel disconnected during a session while he was driving. So that was very strange there. And just showing replays, a lot of drivers going wide and still struggling for grip. This track is still pretty green, although we've had about an hour of running of F1 cars early in the day. But regardless, conditions still not ideal. So Alonso's back in the pits. They're trying to get that steering wheel sorted out. So let's dive into some telemetry here. Let's see which drivers we can follow. Currently, Liam Lawson is on a push lap, so we can maybe follow his progress. And looks like he made a mistake going into turn 1 and 2, and he's backed off going into turn 4. Usually that happens. The commentator's curse. As we start to get ready for a lap with one driver, he ends up backing out. So we can go and try and pick another one. Well, let's see Max Verstappen. I think he pitted earlier and then came out again recently. So let's see if Verstappen will be going on a push lap for this one. Yet to complete a flying lap, Max Verstappen. Currently down in 19th. Also just showing a replay of Lando Norris going wide at the exact same corner Max Verstappen did down there at turn 10. He's on the harder tire. Verstappen currently showing on the softs. And looks like, let's see. Is he going to start a flying lap or is he going to go into the pits? Okay, DRS open for Verstappen, so it looks like he will be going for a flyer.
I need to swap helmet, swap hands device, and clean the headrest, please.
So again, another driver complaining about issues on the car. This time it is the headrest for Norris. So, I mean, it's still ironing out the kinks for a lot of these drivers. Even though we've had one free practice session, Norris was in the car this morning, so McLaren keeping both of their drivers in, not running any young drivers. But nonetheless, still some things to work out for McLaren and Norris. Norris currently sitting on P8. He's only run the hard tire so far, done 5 laps on that hard tire with the best time of a 32.8. But currently we are following Verstappen's progress right now. Setting personal best sector 1 and 2. He's using DRS, so these are representative laps. He is on the soft tire. I'm not sure if this is a performance run. I wouldn't think so. But we saw this last week in Suzuka, where Red Bull was putting the drivers early on the soft tire, just maybe to gain some confidence. So Verstappen approaching the penultimate corner. All about the traction here at the Bahrain International Circuit. Gets the foot down, DRS open, and let's see where this time is going to put him. So it puts him in P3 at the moment with that time. And if we compare his lap times, just for an example, to Hamilton at the moment, he is 0.2 down on Lewis Hamilton's best time on the same tire. But of course, still early days. So a decent lap, I would say, from Max Verstappen on his second attempt. And very interesting so far, again, another replay of McLaren's Lando Norris heading down into turn 1, and this time just completely outbraking himself. So that hard tire doesn't really look so good at the moment on the McLaren. And there was a lot of talk coming into this race because, of course, McLaren do have I would say, the fastest car, or at least the most complete package at the moment. And there was a lot of talk about the fact that this isn't traditionally a McLaren circuit. They have struggled here in the past. Certainly in this ground effect era, Bahrain has not been friendly to them. But of course, when it came to F1 testing, they really did have such a great F1 testing that they looked good even at this circuit. And so a lot of people are picking them the favorites for this weekend, but I would say to maybe hold off on that just yet, because I think that this track hasn't particularly been friendly to McLaren. But I will say that Bahrain is a rear-limited circuit, and it does favor cars that have very good traction, very good performance in the low-speed corners, and of course, good top speed as well. And I think McLaren, especially in the traction zones, are very strong, because we do have 3 DRS zones here in Bahrain, long straights made up with traction zone. And as the old saying goes in any type of racing, and especially in Formula 1 racing, it's all about the slow in and then the fast out. So you don't want to lose a lot of time on that main straight. And speaking of pushing at the moment, we got George Russell, who's on a flying lap. So let's look at his telemetry. Live telemetry right now. He's out on the back straight. He's setting purple mini sectors in the first and the second sectors, and also here on that back straight heading into the final corner. So let's see where this lap is going to put Russell. And Russell about to cross the line, and he will go fastest, beating his former teammate Lewis Hamilton with a time of a 1:31.9, also on the soft, 0.2 faster than Hamilton did. So a good lap there from Russell. He was purple in the second sector, fastest of anybody, and strung together two good first and third sectors as well. And we're just seeing replays here of Russell's fastest lap. He did go wide in turn 4. Looked like he was past track limits, but we'll see if the stewards are going to say anything about it. Of course, track limits, not that much of an issue in practice, but if he does that in qualifying, then that time will, of course, be deleted. So good lap there from Russell. And currently Lewis Hamilton also out on track. Let's have a peek at his telemetry. He is currently approaching turn 1, but he's not on a push lap. So Hamilton so far has ran the soft and also the medium tire. He's completed 5 laps total. Currently at the moment of the drivers running, we've got, for example, Sainz and Behrman. They've completed the most at 8 laps. Doohan also with 8 laps. Max Verstappen's got 6 laps on the board. Kimi Antonelli, 7 laps on the board. And it's kind of as we expected, a busy start to this FP2 session, almost 20 minutes in. Boy, time is really flying. But there's been a lot of laps so far on the board. So Piastri currently showing on screen at the moment. If you guys are watching the F1 TV feed, I'm trying to, of course, sync it up as best as I can with what you're seeing on the live pictures. And Piastri currently on the hard tire, so certainly not a performance run, although he has set a personal best in the first sector, so we'll keep an eye out on this lap. It's certainly calmed down a lot more, though, on track. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 6 cars out on track at the moment. We've got Piastri, Lawson, Hamilton, Ocon, Sainz, and Behrman. Piastri currently on a hot lap. He set a personal best in the first sector, showing good personal bests in the middle sector as well, in the mini sectors, but he is losing quite a bit on the straights, as you can see from the yellow line here on the trace. And it looks like Piastri will be abandoning that lap. So yeah, he had a poor middle sector and he backed out of it there. So nothing representative there. And we see Lando Norris actually is out of the car in the garage at the moment. He complained earlier about problems with his headrest and helmet. So I think that that's probably going in for the change there. And yeah, there is the interesting stat. McLaren have never won in Bahrain in 21 previous visits. Will they do it this weekend? They were just showing replay there. Lewis Hamilton also going wide, so a lot of drivers struggling early on, either with traction, also braking as well. So not ideal conditions in Bahrain. They're currently, let's see, we're just going to get the info here about what the track conditions are like. So track temperature at 36 degrees Celsius, so pretty high. Air temperature at 30 degrees. And if you guys remember back to testing, track temperature was sometimes would dip down all the way to the low 20s. We even got some rain during preseason testing this year. So if you remember, these are totally different conditions and not exactly going to be representative of what we saw in testing. So it should be interesting. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a slam dunk McLaren win. We might get some surprises here, but it doesn't look like anybody's hooked up at the moment yet so far on this circuit. Lewis Hamilton currently on a flying lap. Personal best in the final sector and also fastest in the middle sector. And Lewis Hamilton does go quickest with that time. So that's a 31.9 from Hamilton. Also on the soft tire. That was his 8th lap of the day. Or excuse me, 8th lap of the session. So Hamilton's teammate Charles Leclerc also out on track. Pretty quiet here at the moment. It's a little bit of that middle FP2 lull that we usually get. But Leclerc is on a quick lap, so maybe let's see if we can get some of his telemetry here. Open that up for you guys. For any of the Leclerc fans out there. Guys, remember, if you are watching, drop a comment, drop a hello in the super chat. Or excuse me, in the chat. Drop a super chat if you want as well. But if you have any requests for your favorite driver to see their telemetry, just comment it in the chat room, and I will be right on it to provide you with the information. So we got Leclerc here who... there you go, he crossed the line. So he's on the soft tire as well, and he just went quickest. As you see, the telemetry is a little bit further ahead than the stream is. So, not to spoil it there for you guys, but Leclerc has gone fastest so far in this session. Yeah, about 2/10 up on his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Again, top 4 all setting their best times on the soft tire. And this is a big weekend for Ferrari. I mean, of course, they were coming off of the disqualification in China, the double disqualification, which was quite honestly a huge embarrassment for the team and very unfortunate for the drivers as well. And then in Suzuka, just not a very great weekend either. They finished behind Red Bull. They finished behind, well, I mean, when I say Red Bull, I mean Max Verstappen. They finished behind McLaren. Charles Leclerc had a very good drive to P4, but still Ferrari, this is their worst start to a season since 2009. And if you remember back to that 2009 season, of course, they got those new regulations completely wrong. But even in the SF1000 days of 2020, they still scored more points than they did in this season. So after all the hype and Lewis Hamilton joining the team, it hasn't exactly worked out for them just yet. And I think that championship aspirations looking slim at the moment. But Bahrain has been a good track for them in past years, specifically in 2022, 2019 as well. So if you're a Ferrari fan, you're kind of hoping that they get their shit together in this weekend, because they really need to get back into the top mix and score some good points. So there you see the head-to-head comparison between the two Ferrari teammates we were just talking about. About 0.2 of a second there, Leclerc has the advantage over Lewis Hamilton. So let's see how they get on. Currently, Alex Albon as well. Let's take a look at the Williams driver. We're going to highlight his telemetry here, single him out. He's on a good push lap at the moment. Currently sitting down in... looks like he's actually gone P1 as well. So this is the exciting time of the session. Looks like drivers got a fresh set of soft tires, and they're going for it on this lap. So Alex Albon quickest. Let's quickly switch here, though, to Max Verstappen, because Verstappen is on a push lap. Purple in the first sector, quickest of anybody. And he's setting good little mini sectors through the middle as well. So a good lap so far here from Max Verstappen. Looks like this should be good enough to put him top of the timesheets at the moment. And yeah, absolutely does. Verstappen there goes quickest so far with a lap of, let's see, what is the time here? Yeah, Verstappen quickest almost by 4/10 there, up on Alex Albon's time. So we're seeing some good laps being done here. Little track evolution maybe as well. And things are getting much, much quicker. So Verstappen with a 31.3 so far, 9 laps completed for the Dutchman. And if we go with a head-to-head here with Alex Albon, we'll be able to see where the differences are. 3.5 tenths about. But things are going to get maybe just a little bit faster here at the moment. Lando Norris also on a good lap. Purple in the first sector. He's on the soft, so let's see where he's going to end up. And Lando Norris also going quicker than Max Verstappen. A 1:30.6 for the championship leader. A real good solid lap there. Purple in the middle sector. And personal best in the first and also the third sector. But it looks like, let's see, I think somebody might have gone quicker in the middle sector. And these laps are coming in fast and heavy at the moment because all of these drivers currently on fresh sets of softs and are doing their qualifying sims. George Russell's just set the fastest first sector. And Oscar Piastri just gone quickest as well, so he pipped his teammate there just by, let's see what the gap is. So yeah, I've got my telemetry, which is a little bit ahead of what you see on the F1 TV feed, where we see Piastri now crossing the line on my feed, so about a 1/10.5 quicker than his teammate Lando Norris. So let's take a look at the head-to-head here and see maybe where the differences are. So yeah, Norris losing out there in the final sector, losing about almost 2 tenths there in that last sector. George Russell crossing the line on his latest flying lap, good enough for P3 at the moment. So we got the Ferraris also. Let's see where the Ferraris are going to fit in here. They're just out now on a fresh set of softs. Let's see if we can join their live telemetry. So we currently got 2 McLarens, 2 Mercedes. The Racing Bulls of Isaac Hadjar just went up into P5. That's a really good lap there, ahead of Max Verstappen in the RB21. Let's see where Charles Leclerc will end up as he crosses the line here. And looks like no real significant improvement there from Leclerc. Stays 8th. Or he was 9th, so he did move up 1 spot there. So it looks like we got most of the drivers who have gone and completed their qualifying simulations. We still got the Hasses who have yet to complete a lap there on the soft tire. They're about coming through. We got team radio here.
I'm getting a lot of helmet lift. Do you reckon we could add a little spoiler to the front of my lid?
Yep.
So if you guys can get the first part of that radio message, George Russell complaining that he has quite a bit of lift on his helmet, probably as he's going out on the straights, and he requested a change there, a little bit of a spoiler on probably the bottom there of the helmet, just to allow the airflow to go around him a little bit better and avoid that issue of, well, of course, so much force these cars generate going at speeds in excess of 300 kilometers an hour. So we've seen a lot of these kind of helmet and different headrest issues so far in this session, which we don't really typically see at this point, fourth race into the season, but nonetheless, drivers complaining there. Russell currently sitting P3, 5/10 off the pace of the McLarens of Oscar Piastri. Esteban Ocon up into P14 on his qualifying simulation run there. So that looks like it's about it. I think Tsunoda is the only driver currently that I'm seeing here, as you see on the left-hand side of your screen, that doesn't seem like he has a qualifying sim completed yet. He is currently out on track at the moment. And let's see if we can follow his progress. Yeah, it looks like he is on the soft tire. So let's get his telemetry up on the screen here, because it looks like this is his quali run here. DRS opens, so he is definitely pushing on this lap. Nothing representative from Tsunoda so far, so I think this is the first look that we're going to get as to what kind of pace he has in his second race for Red Bull. I see some comments coming up in the chat there. I'm going to get to them in just a second. We're just going to pay close attention here to Tsunoda's flying lap. He's personal best in the first sector, a 29.2, as you can see here on the screen. He's currently coming out of turn 10. DRS open as he plunges down into turn 11. Of course, this section where you have basically the highest speed corners on the circuit. Really the only high-speed corners on this track here of 11, 12, and then 13. And the exit of that corner, very important because you've got the long straight down into the penultimate corner as well. So Tsunoda personal best so far. Let's see where it's going to put him. And as he crosses the line, not that impressive. Only P17. He did improve on his time, but only a 132.0. Good enough, like I said, for 17th. So let's see what happened there. If that was a representative lap, what type of fuel he's running, we don't know. But not exactly what you would call impressive from Tsunoda. But let's see if he's going to come out again or try for another run. Team Radio?
That last corner is making me very confused.
So Bearman reporting that the last corner is making him very confused. And yeah, I'm not sure what's confusing him exactly, but it isn't exactly the easiest corner at the same time, so understandable. All right, let's get to some of the comments here. Grace says, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that your stream is informative and clean. New subscriber. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the support. I'm glad to have you along if you're new to the channel. Definitely appreciate the subscribe. I'm going to be planning on doing these types of streams for almost every Free Practice 2 of this season. I'll be back next week for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix for FP2. And, of course, for most of them this week. Of course, I'll be posting on our social media when I'm going live and when I won't be. But I'm also hoping to get some guests on in the future live streams as well, just so it's a little bit easier. Of course, when you have a partner beside you, the commentary can go a little bit easier. But appreciate the support. You said that you're rooting for Charles and Ferrari to win both titles. Not looking good so far there, Grace, but I do appreciate the optimism, and it definitely would be. It's about time Ferrari comes back to the top of Formula One. It's been a very, very long time. And of course, as Sebastian Vettel once said, we are all Ferrari fans, so it would be nice to see, but we'll see how things go. I think, as I said before, whether you were just joined now, you didn't hear my comments before on Ferrari, this will be a big weekend for them And I think that this will be a kind of a big sign as to where they will go for the next few races. They do have a new floor on the car, upgraded bits on the car this week, so that is a step in the right direction. Lewis Hamilton, just currently out on track, did improve on his first run there, but only good enough for 7th at the moment. So, yeah, definitely big weekend for Ferrari here. And just currently looking at the driver tracker, looks like Max Verstappen is going out once again, but let's see. I think it's saying he's out on the soft. I don't know if that's a new set or if that's a used set of softs, if he's going to go for a performance run or not. I mean, I wouldn't say the most convincing lap from Verstappen. 8/10 off the pace, a 131.3 in comparison to Piastri's 130.5. So I wouldn't read too much into it, though, in terms of free practice 2 times, especially when it comes to Red Bull and Verstappen. Max especially is really exceptionally good at analyzing the data post-practice and coming back and making the necessary changes to improve the car performance, although it is much harder with this RB21 because their setup window is so narrow in comparison to their rivals such as McLaren and Mercedes. But don't panic yet if you're a Red Bull fan. But it's going to take them a little bit as well. And of course, you have to factor in that Verstappen didn't do FP1 as he had to hand over his car for the younger drivers. Team radio.
The final corner, the brakes again, this don't work.
Understood.
So Verstappen complaining of some sort of brake issues in the final corner. Maybe not getting exactly the bite that he's hoping for. Leclerc currently on a push lap as well here. He set a personal best in the middle sector. Let's see where this puts him as he crosses the line. And, okay, yeah, so here, let me... My stream is a little bit behind here. Leclerc did improve on his time, actually. Quite a decent improvement as well. It put him in P4 at the moment, 5/10 off the pace. But I believe that was a used set on the soft, so a pretty solid improvement there for Charles Leclerc. And we're seeing quite a bit of the drivers still out on the soft compound tire. Piastri currently out on his race run. He's on the harder white sidewall tire. And so we're probably going to get... Let's see where we are exactly with the time here. Yeah, we're definitely in the long run territory. Coming up on 20 minutes to go in the session. So drivers will definitely be wanting to get in their long run data. Of course, that's why FP2 is so representative, because we are running during these conditions for qualifying and, of course, the race. Whereas FP1, during the day, track conditions incredibly hot and not exactly representative. If there are any viewers out there, if you're looking for some telemetry, you want to see the telemetry of your favorite driver, comment it in the chat and I will post it up on the screen for all of you to see. So it looks like Russell definitely on a push lap here, but it looks like he's also on a new set of the soft. The data here that you can see on the telemetry saying only 1 lap completed on that soft. So it looks like he's on a fresh set here, but not a personal best in the first sector. So not sure whether he made a mistake or not. Certainly the soft tire, I wouldn't say is a favorable race tire, that's for sure. This is a rear limited circuit, and with a lot of traction zones here at the Bahrain International Circuit, you are going to chew up those softer compound tires. But it looks like, yeah, I mean, 5.4 seconds off in the middle sector, so definitely He looks like to be on a longer run here. Interesting here. Let's see if he finishes the lap and continues on. Yeah, so it looks like Russell is on some sort of a long run here on the soft tire. So interesting. I wonder what type of data they're going to get from that and whether they will actually run it in the race or not. So that's Russell. Let's see if we can follow another driver on track. Let's check in on Oscar Piastri's long run here. He's been on this set of harder tires now. It looks like for 11 laps on the hard tire. He's got the fastest time overall in this session. Currently sits about a 1/10.5 quicker than his teammate. And now just focusing on his long run here as we're less than 20 minutes to go in this session. You know, it always amazes me how quickly these live streams go by. Even when I did the testing ones, you know, you do a 3-4 hour session, but somehow it goes by just so quickly. So I appreciate everybody that's been watching along here for this past 40 minutes or so. I appreciate the comments there from Grace. I know we didn't get a lot of chats and comments this time around, but that's okay. Still enjoying watching here with the select couple of people. Of course, Backmarkers F1 show. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Check out the rest of our videos on the channel. Go to the homepage after you're done watching the stream and see what we're all about. And just so you know, guys, tomorrow, following the conclusion of qualifying, I will be posting the analysis of the pole position lap. Let's see which driver it's going to be. I usually post that about an hour and a half to 2 hours following the completion of qualifying. And basically, it's an onboard lap with live telemetry and also after analyzing the data trace and telemetry from the 2 fastest times and seeing that gap there between those 2 cars. So it's an interesting video if you want to see what that looks like. I've done 3 so far, of course, for this season, also found on the homepage of the channel. And then following the Grand Prix on Sunday, I have been doing a compilation of the drivers' team radios following the race. So if you guys remember, Formula 1 official channel used to do this from about 2021 till 2023, and then last season they stopped doing it. So I figured I'd take the initiative and do the videos myself. So again, you can expect that video about 3 to 4 hours following the completion of every Grand Prix this season as well. So I think that that's a really solid video, and I also include some data in there as well, fastest laps, championship positions, things like that. So it's a little bit informative as well. And then of course I've always got some new videos coming out too, whether there's some breaking news, and I've got some interesting features that are coming up soon on this channel, particularly on siblings in Formula 1, brothers in Formula 1. So that should be a very interesting video. So stay tuned to the channel. So tracker currently showing at the moment Verstappen is out on the soft tire as well as Lando Norris. So I'm wondering, it looks like these drivers are doing long runs on the softer tires. I honestly don't expect them to use a soft tire in the race, but we could be seeing a 2-stopper as well. That could be the factor, but also it's usually tire allocation. So these teams wanting to save a hard tire or a medium for the race as well. Verstappen's teammate Yuki Tsunoda currently out on the medium tire. He's just recently started his long run, so he's testing out the medium. But a lot of drivers currently at the moment, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, showing that they are out on the softer tire. We got Lawson, Bortoletto, Doohan, Hadjar, and Tsunoda currently on the medium. Piastri so far, as I can tell on that tracker, the only driver out on the harder tire. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a breather here, take some water. So in the meantime, just enjoy the natural sounds that you're hearing from the Bahrain International Circuit. I'll be back in just a minute.
My brakes are really not decelerating well.
Okay, copy.
So Verstappen complaining of brake issues again. He did a complaint similar to that about 15-20 minutes ago, so it looks like whatever the issue isn't really the brakes aren't necessarily giving the bite that Verstappen is looking for. So not sure whether that's possibly an overly stiff suspension or just a problem with the brakes itself or the pedal, but that's something that they're going to need to look at following the sessions. We got less than 15 minutes to go, coming up on the 13-minute mark here in free practice 2, and most of the drivers out on track at the moment. It is the long run time. I know not the most exciting of any free practice session, but you're currently seeing the live telemetry of Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, both on long runs on the soft compound tire. And let's do a switch here. Let's see what other drivers we can do here. Let's compare the two Ferrari drivers. I know Grace earlier said she was a Ferrari fan, so let's take a look at the Ferrari boys now. Leclerc on the medium at the moment, and Hamilton showing on the soft. The Ferraris currently sitting P4 and P8, with Leclerc in 4th, Hamilton in 8th. So doesn't look like there's a whole ton of pace so far at the moment in that SF25. The Racing Bulls of Hadjar are actually ahead of one of the Ferraris and one of the Red Bulls, which isn't totally surprising on a Friday, but Hadjar has been incredibly impressive so far in 2025, despite that mistake he made in Melbourne on the formation lap. But since then, he's been lights out, especially when it comes to qualifying. So he's been doing a good job so far, and I think he'll definitely be in the mix for Q3 come qualifying tomorrow. And it's interesting, guys, to watch the telemetry here as we see the drivers on the long run. And you can notice the big difference between a long run versus a performance run. No DRS being used, and the drivers just a lot more sensitive and cautious into how they're getting onto the throttle. Certainly not as aggressive as they would be on a performance lap, and it's actually very interesting to see. And of course the top speed as well is not as high. Engine mode's probably turned down, energy deployment of course turned down as well, and with no DRS they're kind of hitting around 300, 310. And so far, if we look at the fastest speed traps time in comparison, Oliver Behrman in the Haas with 330 kilometers an hour. That's been so far the quickest time in the speed trap of this session. So, I mean, it's interesting to see. We don't usually get to see this on the F1 TV feed. So I think this is really kind of fun to watch along. It's kind of what the engineers would be seeing on the pit wall as well. And we're just seeing a replay of Isaac Hadjar. Ooh. Team radio here.
What is he doing now?
Yeah, Hadjar saying, what is he doing? He had the Sauber in front of him at turn 4. I'm not sure. Let's see if we look at the driver tracker who that would have been. It would have been Nico Hulkenberg who was ahead of him. So he was impeding him heading into that corner. And let's see if the stewards are going to investigate that and if he's going to get a penalty or not. Of course, remember, Carlos Sainz last week got a penalty for impeding, 3-place grid penalty for the Japanese Grand Prix. So we know that the stewards don't take these things lightly. All right, guys, coming up on 10 minutes left so far in this session of Free Practice 2. You are watching the Backmarkers F1 show, FP2 live stream for the Bahrain Grand Prix. I'm your host, Chris Cato, the host and creator of the Backmarkers F1 show. So happy to be along here with you guys, watching some F1 on a Friday afternoon or on a Friday morning, wherever you are watching in the world. I'm actually curious, where are you guys watching from around the world? Drop that as well into the chat. So let's see what other drivers here we can follow along on their long runs. We've done the McLarens, we've done the Ferraris. Let's take a look at Tsunoda and his former teammate, Isaac Hadjar. Both drivers here on the medium compound tire. Hadjar's done 7 laps so far on this current set versus Tsunoda, who's done 5 laps so far. Tsunoda's push lap wasn't very representative, I think, down in P18, a second and a half off the pace. So I think that there's more pace to come for Yuki Tsunoda. Of course, this is only a second week, or second weekend in that RB21, so still quite a steep learning curve to come from him. But let's see where he ends up come qualifying tomorrow. Because Helmut Marko and even Red Bull, the team, were saying that his race pace was actually solid. They saw a lot of potential there, saw a lot of good pace, just that he needs to sort out the qualifying. But of course, it was only one race in Suzuka, and we shouldn't be too quick to judge. But although this is Red Bull that we are talking about, so they did drop Lawson after 2 races, so I got to be careful what I say in terms of that. I just wanted to do an update here on track conditions. So track temperature 34 degrees. So we compare that to about the beginning of the session. It was around 36. So track temp dropping 2 degrees. And of course, as I said before, much different from FP1 where we had above 40 degrees track temperatures. Much hotter conditions than we had in testing. So that's going to have quite the effect on teams as well. I think that's why you saw Mercedes, for example, who looks so strong here during testing, because they were quite cooler conditions. Mercedes, traditionally a team that does struggle with the hotter conditions, so let's see how the pecking order will shape out. But should be an interesting weekend nonetheless. Interesting, Grace. You were watching from Kenya, so shout out to Kenya, shout out to Africa. That's really cool. Honestly, that's really cool. I think one of the most interesting things about doing these streams and just doing videos on YouTube in general is to see how many different people from around the world come to watch my videos, which is pretty crazy when I think about it, that somebody is watching from Kenya. So thanks for joining the stream again, and shout out to Kenya. Very cool, very cool. Alright, so we've been focusing out on Hadjar and Tsunoda currently on their long runs as well. And let's see what other drivers that we can compare here. We haven't looked at the Mercedes boys. I just talked about them as well. Let's look at the 2 teammates, Russell and Antonelli. Both drivers doing a long run on the soft there. Antonelli's done 11 laps and Russell with 9 laps as well. I am really curious to see the data breakdowns after free practice 2 and whether the teams are expected to run this soft tire during the race. It certainly hasn't been a preferred race tire in the first 3 races of the season. We saw some drivers select the soft tire in Suzuka for their final stint. For example, Liam Lawson ended up running the soft after he went long in his stint, but I don't know. It's typically not the favored tire, specifically around Bahrain, because it is a tire-eating circuit. So I think this maybe more has to do just with tire allocation, as I mentioned earlier. Well, let's see who else. Who haven't we really talked about here? Let's look at the 2 Williams boys. They're line and stern. They're in 10th and 11th. Williams, a phenomenal start to the season so far. If you think about the fact that in 2024 they had 17 points in total for the whole season, and they're already on 19 so far. It's incredibly impressive, and even more so impressive when you consider, maybe I shouldn't say even more so impressive, but when you consider the ceiling that Williams has, once Carlos Sainz gets up to speed in this new car and he really starts to maximize the performance, I think Williams will be scoring even more points than they are right now, because Alex Albon kind of flying the flag solo at the moment. Sainz did score his first points in China, but that was thanks to a promotion with all the penalties and disqualifications that we had. But give Sainz a couple of more races, and I think he'll be right up there with Albon. I think Albon's been very impressive to start this season. He's had to step up with a quicker and more experienced teammate coming in, and he has done that. So credit to him, and I think that this is going to be an excellent, excellent season for Williams, and it already is, to be honest with you. They've already surpassed 2024, so everything from now on is just a bonus. Sainz currently 5 laps on the medium, doing a long race run, and Albon on the soft 7 laps completed for them. So good start to the season for Williams. We've got less than 4 minutes to go in the session before we wrap it up here. And if you guys remember, just to wrap up on Williams here, going back to testing, they were pretty quick. We had Carlos Sainz, who actually set the fastest time of testing this season. So this should be a good track for them. This should be a circuit in which they should be in contention for Q3 with Albon and potentially with both cars, and certainly in the points as well. So this is a very good time for Williams, and especially in this triple header. You know, we got 3 races in 3 weeks, a lot of points on the table, and really important to maximize and score as much as you can before you head into a little bit of a break, and then before we get racing again in Miami, which will be a sprint weekend. All right, let's go on. So we did Williams. We can maybe let's do a quick look at Alpine. Alpine currently sitting 14th and 17th, doing the lead. Alpine 1.2 seconds off the pace. He's currently on the medium tire. His teammate Pierre Gasly currently running the hard tire down in P17. 24 laps on the board for Gasly. Let's see, 24 as well for Jack Doohan. Honestly, probably not going to be the best circuit here for Alpine. They haven't really shown too much pace so far this weekend. And just in general this year, I think the problem with Alpine and what's been holding them back for the last couple of years is certainly the power unit. And they are down quite a significant amount of brake horsepower in comparison to their rivals. And on a track like Bahrain, where you have 3 DRS zones, and I mean, you have 3 long straights plus 1 smaller straight, you're going to suffer if your power unit is not up to par. So I think that Alpine will be struggling at this circuit. And as we wind down here for the final 2 minutes, let's see which drivers have completed the most laps so far. So Piastri in P1, he's got 26 laps on the board. That is tied for the most with Albon and the Williams, also at 26 laps. So you've got those 2 drivers, but other drivers not far behind. Verstappen 24 laps, Norris 25, Antonelli 24 laps as well. Same with Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton 20 laps. So far smooth running for everybody. We haven't had any major issues, other than for the fact, if you weren't with us at the beginning of the session, Fernando Alonso's steering wheel had some sort of issue, came loose actually, came off the steering rack while he was out on track driving, and he eventually had to come into the pits, get that replaced, but he got out running again, so there wasn't really any sort of technical problems. Some drivers complaining of helmet issues, headrest issues, but other than that, no mechanical problems, so a smooth session as well. Once again, a shout out to all the viewers out there. Grace, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Dushza as well. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate the comment. Thank you very much. You seem like an awesome person. So thank you for your support. And we're coming up on the final couple of minutes here in this Free Practice 2 session here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Again, Backmarkers F1 Show. Like, share, subscribe. We are on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All the links can be found in the description below. You can stay up to date as well with us there. But also check out the homepage of our channel. There's a lot of videos coming out every single week, almost every single other day. And especially on a race weekend, we've got lots coming from qualifying and from the race. So, checkered flag is out. And that means the session is over. Drivers will complete their final flying laps. But that will do it for free practice 2. That session flew by like crazy, but it was a good one. A lot of laps completed and a lot of data to pour through. So drivers will finish up their laps. Let's see if they're going to do any practice starts. I'm sure they will be allowed to, considering that most of these drivers weren't in action in FP1, having to give up their rides for the young rookies. So they will probably get the opportunity to do a practice start. Rubber in the grid as well. That's always a good thing to do. And if we look at field spread, even in free practice, we got 2 seconds basically covering the entire field from P1 Piastri down to Hulkenberg in P20. Oh, we got team radio.
This front lockup is insane.
So Yuki Tsunoda complaining of front lockups. I wonder if that's related to the brake issue that Verstappen was reporting throughout this session. So whether that's mechanical in terms of the suspension, how the car is set up, maybe the Red Bull's running a little too stiff, or whether it's an actual issue with the brakes themselves, something that the Red Bull mechanics will have to debrief following the session. So we're going to be live for about another 5 minutes here, guys. We're just going to do a quick runtime. We're going to do a quick rundown of all the action, and then we'll be on our merry way to enjoy the rest of our Friday afternoons or mornings. Let me see if I can just get this reloaded here. Driver's still out on the track, and yeah, it looks like we are going to be getting some practice starts here.
Look like Verstappen and Russell had a bit of fun there.
So that team radio there from Piastri, I guess some of the drivers getting their early racing done, I guess we could say. All right. Let's do a... Oh, of course, every time when I need to, it ends up reloading at the wrong time. So checkered flag is out, session is complete. So let's do a rundown of the top times. So Oscar Piastri fastest in FP2 with a time of a 1:30.5. Of course, completed on the soft tire. He was one of the only drivers to do a long run on the hard tire. So interesting with their allocation. His teammate Lando Norris, a 10th.5 behind on the qualifying sim runs. George Russell in P3, half a second off the best time. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, not far behind Russell there. Antonelli in 5th. Isaac Hadjar, very impressive time there in the Racing Bulls, 7/10 off the pace, but was good enough for P6. Finished ahead of the Red Bull and another Ferrari. Max Verstappen in P7, 8/10 off of Oscar Piastri. Lewis Hamilton in 8th. Oliver Behrman in 9th in the Haas. And Carlos Sainz rounding out the top 10 for Williams there, 1.1 seconds off the pace. Nico Hulkenberg, dead last there for Sauber. He finishes the day in P20. So, a lot to go through in this session, following all the data, following all the information, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of analysis with it on social media. So, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Grace, I see your final comment here about the algorithm tip. I appreciate that. I will actually add F1 or Formula 1 somewhere in the title. I am definitely lacking on the search engine optimization and algorithm hacks for my YouTube channel. But nonetheless, you know, I'll keep trying, and hopefully for the next time we get more people. But I appreciate all the comments that you submitted there, Grace. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you again next week for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix streams. If you have any fan forums that you're a part of, you got any friends that watch F1, share the live streams, and the more that we get, the merrier that it is. So that'll be good. But yeah, looking very much forward to qualifying tomorrow, guys. Of course, keep your eye out on the Backmarkers F1 show for the qualifying analysis that I will be posting after. It'll be a breakdown of the pole position lap following the qualifying tomorrow in Bahrain. And then, of course, for the race on Sunday, I will have every driver's post-race team radio coming up a couple of hours after the checkered flag drops. So looking forward to that. I've been Chris Cato the last hour here on the Backmarkers F1 show. Like, share, subscribe. I appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you guys again next time soon. Until then, it's bye for now, and take care.